Love is in the air with this video. Hey Spuds, it's Jamie, welcome back to another video first on the channel. I don't know, but welcome either way, and today we are having a look through this subreddit called My Partner is Trans, which is basically where partners of trans people or partners of people who are questioning if they're trans or trans people themselves with partners come and ask for advice and explain their situations. And so I thought it would be nice to go through some. This is a bit of a series on the channel, I've done it before, so today we're just going to go through some scenarios involving a trans person in a relationship or somebody in a relationship with a trans person, and just see if we can offer some advice and just chat about it, because I think these situations and talking about them can be useful to a lot of people. Yay. But first, speaking of partners, I wanted to talk about one of my favourite TV show couples, Patrick and David from Schitt's Creek. Oh yes. And speaking of Schitt's Creek, I've just finished rewatching it for the 5th time, which just feels right, but also not enough. But here is something very rude, David.
Oh my god.
If I travel to the land of my favourite food, Italy, I can't watch Schitt's Creek on Netflix whilst I'm there, because for some unfathomable reason, Schitt's Creek is not on Italian Netflix. How dare. And I don't know about you, but I need my comfort shows when I travel. I'm an anxious traveller, and familiarity keeps me calm. I cannot go abroad without hearing Alexa say, "Ew, David," at least once per day.
Oh my god, ew, David!
I want my pasta and the roses.
A little bit Alexis.
But don't panic. Do not fold the cheese in just yet.
You fold in the cheese then!
Because my good buddy Surfshark is here. So how does this sound? You get to travel abroad to your favourite places, eat your favourite food, while still watching all of your favourite comfort shows. And you can do this by unlocking content from different countries, whilst also keeping your data secure and getting better prices online. I love this journey for us.
Yes, love that journey for me.
Huge thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring today's video. With Surfshark, I can travel to wherever I want to go, including Italy, and still watch all my favourites from UK or any other Netflix. Oh yeah, I just connect to one of their over 4,500 servers in more than 140 locations, and voila. And because Surfshark has so many locations and so many servers, it's not just Netflix, and it's not just Schitt's Creek, or the UK versus Italy. It's whatever your comfort show is, wherever you watch it, wherever you are located. Yes, even if your taste is questionable. I genuinely use Surfshark every single day. Shabra and I have done for the past several years. It's just one of those things that quietly works away in the background, holding everything together, like Stevie, but with a bit more enthusiasm.
Do you think I want to be here?
And today, Surfshark has a very cute deal for you.
That's cute.
If you sign up using my link surfshark.com/jammy, you'll get an extra 4 whole months of Surfshark for completely free. And don't forget to use Surfshark next time you're booking flights or hotels. I had no idea this was a thing until I started using Surfshark, but by changing your virtual location, you can often unlock cheaper prices for things like flights, hotels, car rentals, and even everyday shopping items, which honestly feels like something Moira Rose would absolutely approve of, especially if she could get some wigs.
No, what are my wigs?
But it's not just about digital home comforts or cheaper prices. Even more important than all of those, it's about safety. Whether you're at home, in a coffee shop, at the airport, on your way to Italy to eat some great pizza, Surfshark encrypts your online data so you don't become an easy target for identity theft, phishing attempts, or fraud. And if that's still not enough, Surfshark gives you amazing features like alert and search. So you get real-time data breach alerts if your personal info leaks online, and you can browse ad-free with 0 digital footprints using Surfshark's private search engine. So go click that link in my description box to get 4 months extra for free, and there's also a 30-day money-back guarantee. So truly, you have nothing to lose, unlike the Roses who lost everything.
We didn't lose everything.
Well,
But found each other along the way. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm off to emotionally support myself by rewatching Schitt's Creek yet again. But before I do that, let's get on with the video and see if we can help some people out. Should I tell her if I don't think she passes? Ooh, my brain instantly goes, it depends on if she's asked or not. So let's read on. My trans girlfriend sometimes asks me if I think she passes well. Okay, so she is asking. She asks about specific aspects of her presentation too, which makes her questions harder to dodge. For the most part, she's confident about passing and she does usually pass, but there are certain things about her like her voice which could potentially interfere with that. Should I tell her the truth if it isn't what she wants to hear? On one hand, I feel that it's better that she hears something like that from me instead of somebody else, but also I'm not sure if she asks me such things just because she wants reassurance. Thanks in advice. Thanks in advance. Thanks in advice. I think this is quite a tricky position because I hear what you're saying, because you're not sure if your girlfriend is asking you to be like, I just want some like comfort and reassurance right now. I'm not actually asking you for the truth if it's not what I want to hear. It could be that maybe in her head she's aware of certain things that stop her from passing sometimes. Basically, for anybody who doesn't know, passing is a kind of general term used for when a trans person would get gendered correctly by others. Okay, where my head goes as a trans guy is if I'm asking this, it's probably because I'm already questioning and I'm maybe already aware of some things that I'm not feeling super confident about. I would want to know the truth. I think, yes, it would be difficult, but like I probably want to hear what was going on because I probably already know and I'm just like sanity checking it with somebody else. I think I'd be more hurt if I asked and my partner lied to me, but then that's just me. So this is like such a subjective thing because my head is like, if she's asking, I would tell her the truth. But at the same time, like a big part of that truth also includes there's so much variation between people, and that includes between cis people, that it's not just trans people who do not always get gendered correctly for various things like body shape, voice, height, general appearance. Loads of cis women get misgendered because they have a deeper voice, because they have a more masculine body shape, because they have shorter hair, because they're more masculine presenting. Loads of cis men get misgendered sometimes because longer hair, more feminine voice, feminine body shape, etc. Because people base their perception of others and people they don't know on the stereotypes that are in our brain. It's often very subconscious and very quick. We will categorize people based on these like list of criteria that our brain will go through on a totally subconscious level. So if this were my partner, or if this were me asking, same advice for both from my perspective, but obviously this would need to be based on the individual person, I would give an honest reply to be like, hey, most of the time, great. If you're asking me really truthfully, I can see sometimes you don't always get gendered correctly. However, and if this is the truth, however, it's typically for things that a lot of cis people could also get misgendered for. I think being misgendered is a lot more weighted for trans people and can often be a lot more likely. However, it's important just to have a little reminder every so often that trans people are not the only people that get misgendered. It can really hit different as a trans person, but there's so many things that would lead to a cis person also getting misgendered as well that can often overlap with the reasons of why a trans person could get misgendered. Overall, I always think honesty is the best policy, and it can be delivered in a very kind, soft way. It has to be kind, otherwise it might just be a bit harsh. But yeah, that would be my advice on that one. WOW relationship. My partner is trans and am I the asshole? Need advice. Okay, so I was in a sapphic relationship with this girl, now male. Okay, and for the first few months it's been a great, healthy relationship, but yesterday she just gave me a letter that basically said, I'm trans, I use he, him pronouns, I'm sorry. I've had a day to reflect on it, and so far I'm catching myself being a bad partner. Before reading on, firstly, I think it's a really great sign that you're like coming to a place online for support. And I totally get that this is incredibly new. And God, different trans people react differently. For me, if I were the trans guy in this relationship, I'm totally appreciating how difficult it is to like be in a relationship and somebody come out and then you have to deal with that process. It's hard for both parties. It's kind of uncomfortable to read like the lesbian relationship, WOW, and then with this girl, she, and then automatically followed with like, but I've been asked to refer to him using male pronouns. That is something that just like as an FYI, unless a specific trans person has said it's okay otherwise, it just should be like an automatic switch over. Even when talking about in the past, you can say, I was in a relationship with somebody who has since come out as a trans man and we started off a relationship as two women, but obviously he is trans and identifies as a man. That would be an okay phrasing, but referring to a trans man as she, even in the past or even when trying to like describe the situation, it does come across a little bit uncomfortable. But I totally get that it's incredibly new and it does take a while to get into the rhythm, and maybe this person's partner has said that this kind of language is okay, so this is more like a general point rather than having a go at this person. I'm not doing that, but let's carry on. For some reading, I'm mourning that he is a man, and I'm wondering if I should break up with him if I can't 100% support him and view him as the man he is. I completely get love the human, not the gender, and I'm not dating a vagina, obviously. I'm dating a human. I'm trying to be compassionate and understand where he's coming from. I understand I'm not trans and I never will be, so I can't judge or ever understand that journey. I understand that it is so much harder for him than me. I feel like this reads like a stream of consciousness, and I'm glad he felt safe enough with me to come out to me, but I'm feeling so much. I feel bad for feeling this way and I want to be the perfect partner for him, but I wanted a girl and I'm getting a man. Honestly, I think that really makes sense, and I think that is a perfectly okay way to feel. You can simultaneously not put yourself in a position that is not right for you, that would mean that you're in a relationship that is not correct for your identity, that is with somebody that, you know, if you don't find men attractive, then being with a trans man isn't going to work because you are with a man. Just because he's trans doesn't reduce that. If you are looking to be in a relationship with a woman, I think it would be fair for you to express that, and it would maybe mean the relationship, well, if you do not want to be in a relationship with a man, then being in a relationship with a trans man cannot work. And I think it's fair for you to have these feelings because you went in to a relationship with an expectation, you know what you want, you know who you are, and that has been flipped on you. Just because somebody coming out as trans is a difficult process for them and they're going to be experiencing a lot doesn't mean that what you are experiencing is less valid or less important. You're also allowed to feel that way, and you're not a shitty person for having these questions. And clearly this person is trying to be as supportive as possible, and it seems like the one thing, like, you're not accepting him being trans, you're not saying he's not a real man, none of this. It sounds like you don't want to be in a relationship with a man, basically, because you said I wanted a girl and I'm getting a man. What also hurts is he never told me before the relationship flirting stage that he was transgender. He's been trans for over a year now. Oh, I catch myself in denial that he's trans and a woman. That's confusing. Wait, so did he know he was trans before getting in a relationship with you? I get it if people aren't ready, but I'm also like, that's not fair on either party, because it's just going to lead to so much complication down the line. So is OP saying they're catching themselves denying that he's trans? So you're saying I catch myself in denial that he's trans and a woman, but he isn't a woman? Yes. I don't know, long rant. What do I do? Does it get better? Am I in the wrong? Do we need to break up? Just some advice. I'm a questioning lesbian or at minimum a bisexual with a high preference for women. The question is, do you want to be in a relationship with a man or a woman? Do you find men attractive? Do you want to be with a man? Because if you don't, then it's not gonna work. I do think if he knew he was trans going into the relationship but didn't tell you, I can see why you're feeling hurt by that, because it just makes things very complicated. I also understand from the other perspective how hard it is to tell people you're trans, and it could be upon reflection that he knows that this is how long he's been aware of it for, but he's only genuinely been ready to talk about it like right now. I guess for me, I'd have the intention to not get in a relationship until I was sure about my identity, but if he met you and he really liked you and it was I can see both perspectives, but I can absolutely see why OP is feeling frustrated and hurt by that situation and by the timeline of events. But really, if you're going to break up with somebody when they came out as trans purely because they're trans, say you still found them attractive, you were very happy to be in a relationship with somebody of their gender, and you broke up with them because you're transphobic, that would be an arseholey move. If you do not want to be in a relationship with somebody because you went in being like, this is a lesbian relationship, now it's not, and that's not what I want, that's not you being transphobic. That is you having an identity and wanting to be true to that identity. And I think it's more respectful to be like, no, I want to be with a woman, which means I can't be with you because I see you as the man you are. That's respecting the other person's identity and yours. So you're not an asshole for having this kind of thought process, and you wouldn't be the asshole if you didn't feel like you can continue the relationship because of this kind of thought process. As long as you are not denying his identity, which it sounds like sometimes you feel like you can be, but not in like a transphobic way. You understand that he is not a woman. So as long as that is solid, you need to do what feels right for you. You're not being an asshole. Family doesn't know my partner is trans, and this one comes with a trigger warning. Vent/support need kind of post. Sorry if it's phrased weirdly. Still new to posting. Okay. First and foremost, this isn't a should I tell my parents kind of post. I do whatever my fiance desires. He's made it clear that he prefers to not tell them, and I will always do whatever he wants. We've been together for a few years and getting married soon. My family adores him, accept him as their son. He deserves it. I love him more than anything I can describe. I think that's fair. The only people that need to know you're trans is your partner and potentially doctors, depending on what you're going for. If you have broken your finger, they don't necessarily need to know, but there does not need to be any outing outside of those two scenarios. My parents, as mentioned, don't know he's trans. They really don't need to anyway. They literally don't. There is no need. Unfortunately, some legal issues regarding our marriage may or may not expose my partner. Oh, I wonder what they could be. I have no idea where this person is based, so I'm not sure what they could be because I only know about the legalities of the marriage process as a trans person in the UK, which wouldn't expose you to outside people if you have a GRC, but maybe he doesn't, and that's the situation. Anyway, he's aware of this, I'm aware of this. He said he doesn't mind, but I know that he would prefer it not to happen. It may not be under our control in the future, hoping it will be. Okay, I guess my advice on that would be try not to worry about it too much unless it seems like it's going to be inevitable, and at the point that it is guaranteed to happen, that's when you sit down with your partner and you be like, look, either they find out through this way or we tell them earlier. What would you prefer? But I think until you get to that point, if it's a may or may not, I would just sit tight, maybe. I'm not very good at it, so take the advice I don't use. I think it's always good to try not to overstress about the things that might not even happen. I tend to really worry about things that are hypotheticals, and it just stresses me out more. And Shaba is very much a person who's like, no, We calm. It might not happen. It's okay. We deal with the bridge if it happens. If the bridge is never built, there is no need to cross it. I guess my vent is how heavy this has been on my soul. My parents are LGBTQ plus positive, but in the "but you're not one of them, right?" kind of way. I've come across some of those in the past. My mother has been outwardly okay with trans people, but I know it's different when it's us for her. I'm scared because I want my fiance to be happy, and I love my mom, and I'm scared of not loving her in case of her reacting in a way we don't want. Whoa. Okay, that phrasing is very poignant. I also don't want my sweet fiance to be in the situation where he's afraid all the time. It's so unfair. I will always choose him. Don't get confused. I think I just want someone to say, hey, I get what you mean. Same thing happens / is happening to me. It's hard. I just don't want to feel heavy, but I think it's a reality that something will happen eventually. Like knowing your car is about to crash and you have nothing to do about it, so you're just watching the road as you speed up. Thank you for reading. If it's inevitable, let's go down this route of it being inevitable, because OP has said, I think the reality is it's something that will happen eventually. Like watching the inevitable unfold and you can't stop it, right? So let's say it's going to happen. So you've got parents who are generally LGBTQ plus supportive, have even said positive things about trans people, but you feel like if it's close to home, that's when it's not going to be acceptable. I have seen that happen, and I've also seen it happen where people were very just not LGBTQ plus supportive to begin with. Not to make it about me, but the best way that I can offer advice is like speaking as the perspective of the trans person whose partner's family reacted in several different ways and how we dealt with that. And we knew each other before I transitioned, and then we got together shortly after, and I knew her family before, so there was no question of whether they would need to know. They just had to find out. It was impossible to keep it from them. So we kind of had this same situation of like being together for a bit, but where the whole relationship had to be secret, because it was like inevitably they're going to need to know about this relationship one day, but shit's gonna hit the fan when they find out. And it did. It really did. But but there were family members who were not parents but still very close, who were very much like, I'm okay with LGBT people, but not if they're my kid, and they're okay with our relationship. They were always just fine with it. Like, they also don't view Shabba being with me as inherently making her LGBTQ, if that makes sense. So I don't know, this person is with a trans man, but I don't know if this person is a man or a woman. I would assume woman, because they've said my parents are LGBTQ plus positive, but they're in you're not one of them kind of way. So like, you can be a cis straight woman in a relationship with a trans man. You're still not LGBTQ plus. Your partner is, but you're not. So maybe that is an angle to take. I don't know. It's difficult because it's like, you don't always want to find workarounds or ways to appease people who are just not supportive. So we had that kind of, we've spoken to people like family members who have this opinion, but they're not parents, so it is a bit different. In terms of like closer family relations, we've had a mixture of acceptance and then like really not acceptance from people that Shaba, my wife, never expected to get acceptance from and didn't. And it was really bad for the first few years. Now we've been together for 14 years, and I'd say for like the past 5 or so years, things have been really good. And for the past 8 years, things have been progressively getting better and have been decent. And for the first 5 or so years, they were bad. So people can surprise you. If it's inevitable, maybe it's an opportunity to give, it sounds like your mum in particular, a chance to be okay with this. And maybe it would be easier for her to be okay with it if she hears it directly from you, or you and your partner together, if you wanted to do it as a duo. It really could be that things work out better than you expect them to. Because that can happen even with the least accepting people. You just never quite know how people are going to react. There's two sides, right? It's really easy for somebody to sit there and go, yeah, I'm LGBT plus supportive, and then actually not be when it's close to home. And then there are people who are like, yeah, I'm LGBTQ plus supportive, but I wouldn't accept my kid. Or too close to home. But then it actually gets close to home and they're like, oh, well no, I'd much rather have my child in my life than be bigoted towards them. So sometimes it's about giving people an opportunity. And the thing is, regardless of what happens, you said you'll always choose your partner. And I know there's fear. It can sometimes feel like a relief once things are just out in the open, if it's inevitable that it's going to happen. Obviously, if there wasn't a risk that it would happen and he didn't want it to happen, you just carry on, easy breezy, nobody needs to know. But personally, I would just wait for that. Genuinely, it's guaranteed to come out in some way, and that's when I would probably choose to tell them myself and then deal with the consequences. And people really can surprise you, sometimes negatively, but also sometimes positively, and sometimes people just need a bit of time, so you never know. And I think this is another situation where I'm gonna be like, try not to get too terrified of what could happen, of your assumptions of their reactions. If you need to tell them, if they are going to find out regardless of what you do, then try and give them the benefit of the doubt until you know their specific reaction. And the thing is, regardless of how they react, you and your partner will have each other. And it might just take your family some time. But I do hear you. It is a very scary and stressful situation, but sometimes people surprise you, and sometimes even the most hopeless looking situation can turn out to be amazing if you give it some time. So I wish you both all the best, and I totally get why this is stressful for both of you. If anybody wants to add some advice onto this, that would be lovely. This next one is not from the partner of a trans person, but a trans person wanting advice about coming out to their partner. Hello everyone, I'm currently a 30-year-old male. I've made the step to schedule an appointment to seek HRT to begin transitioning. I've had this need, like many, for quite some time, probably realised it for the first time around 11 or 12 years old. I just need to finally do it for myself, and I made the first step to make the appointment, and I feel really great about it. I'm giddy and excited. I'm married and need to figure out the best way to come out to my spouse. I'm not sure this is going to go well, but I have been increasingly down and losing sleep and feeling like I need to transition for my happiness. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. I still very much love my spouse and do not want to lose them, but I just know for myself I need to figure this out. I think it's super important and a massive act of self-love to be able to do this for yourself in this situation. Despite how scary it is, despite how big it can feel, you deserve to live life true to yourself. Your partner also deserves to know what's happening kind of as soon as possible, so that they can be in the loop and they can also, for their own life and identity, make the right decisions for themselves. If they're an asshole, I'm really sorry, but you deserve to also know how they're going to react to you being your true self. And if they're assholey, then you deserve better. If it doesn't work, then you both deserve to be with partners where the relationship is right for who they are. And if it does work out, fantastic. But any solution is going to be the best one for you, because you will end up in a position where you are living as your true self and you are with somebody who loves you for your true self. That journey can just be harder for some than for others, depending on how people around you react. What I'm assuming is that this is coming from a trans feminine person. I would advise telling them sooner rather than later, because I think if you go too far into the process, if you start HRT before you tell your partner, sometimes maybe even if you have that appointment before telling them, you're kind of double whammying somebody with, there's this thing I need to tell you that might be quite difficult to hear and you might need some time to process. And also, I've known for such a long time that I've begun the process without telling you, so people can feel both like they are needing to process a big thing and also maybe feeling a bit betrayed. Even though you are allowed to do this, it could lead somebody to feeling like, I wish you'd come to me, I wish you'd felt like you could tell me, or I feel hurt on top of the difficulty of the situation because you went through these steps before telling me. But I totally understand why it's so hard. So I'm not judging. My advice would just be to tell sooner rather than later, and the best way to come out is the way that feels right for you and the way that you feel like your partner will respond best to. So this could be in person, having a conversation. This could be writing them a letter. It could be reading a letter to them in person if you struggle getting the words out in the moment. For coming out to a spouse like this, I would advise as personal as possible, like in person, or reading a letter to them in person, rather than like an email or a text or hinting or doing it alongside a friend or somebody. Like parents, I would often advise like taking a supportive friend with you, because it can just feel like a bit of a buffer. But with a spouse, I'd maybe advise doing it the two of you. If you're worried about reactions, you can also do it in a more public place. Just if you're concerned at all, I'm not saying this is the case, but just like as a hypothetical, if you're concerned about safety or how they might respond, and you just feel like you would want the freedom to leave the situation, then a public place can be a good choice. But maybe it would be useful to write down all your thoughts and how you're feeling, different ways you could talk to them. And my 2 bits of advice would be however feels right for you, and sooner rather than later. And that's it for all the my partner is trans advice posts for today. I hope you liked the video. If you've got any advice that you want to add, leave it down below. If you've got any questions or advice that you would like to ask for, leave it down below. There's lots of chat going on, so I'm sure there will be people adding and helping out and everything, or you can go over to the subreddit yourself if you want. It's not anything to do with me, I just like reading the stuff on it, but I think it's a really great resource. I think there are things that can help a lot more than just the people asking the questions, because it's something that more people than we realize experience. So yeah, if you like this video, think about giving a thumbs up and subscribing, but no pressure. You're going to see some names on the screen of my wonderful Patreons. Thank you so much for supporting me over on Patreon, and a big shout out to my top tier Patreons: Tig, Kia, Tasha, Night Soul, Sugar Joe, Elden K, Nesta, The Third Hat Man, Max Makes Mods, Della Nevin, River Shampoo, Chloe, Iona Balash, TNS Mom, Sally Drew, Randy, Alba, Marv Mallow, Rachel Raptor, Jesse Emerson, Gosco, Sienna Lamb, Slayer, Sarah Hobbs, The Paisley Prince, Riley Ray, Build Out the Show, AAA_Mars, Claire Henley, and Marin. Thank you so much for all your support. Your support means a lot, and it really helps me continue making this kind of content. Thank you. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Much love. Bye.